Good afternoon and welcome to our Miracles Matter Live web special benefiting the Children's Miracle Network at Arnot. As a Children's Miracle Network hospital, Arnot is one of many facilities across the country that collectively provides care to nearly 10 million kids annually. In fact, every minute in the United States, 62 children enter a CMN hospital, often for life-saving medical care. What sets Arnot apart, however, is its neonatal intensive care unit. It's here that the smallest patients from a 9-county region receive the care they need to stay alive. The NICU relies on community donations to be able to continue to provide the most up-to-date medical care equipment, programs, and education for families in our area that sometimes spend the first days, weeks, and months of their babies' lives in the hospital.
And you can see where they come from and how well they do as they come through the NICU and begin to grow up and become great kids and then young adults and so on.
We've teamed up with our partners at Community Broadcasters to help raise awareness for this cause. You can help make miracles happen for families in that 9-county region by donating now. You can find the call line at the bottom of your screen. Funds raised remain right here in our community to support neonatal care and pediatric care. And hundreds of babies born here in the Twin Tiers this year will rely on those donations to keep the NICU up and running with the most up-to-date equipment and care. I'm joined now by the Thompsons from Bath, who spent quite a lot of time in the NICU. And good afternoon, how are you? I know you've had quite the busy day.
Yes, we have been at the radio station this morning. So we were on 100.9 The Wolf and Wink 106 talking about, our story and why the NICU is so important and why we need those donations to help the babies that are there and will be there.
And you guys just have an amazing story, and I was lucky enough to have you share that with me. And let's take a look at part one. Newlyweds Megan and Ryan Thompson were overjoyed to learn they were expecting. Then at their first ultrasound, some unexpected news.
She was like, so how do we feel about twins? And we were shocked.
Twin boys, the proud mom and dad to be dreaming of 2-star athletes. Those dreams, however, quickly turned into a nightmare.
When I just turned 23 weeks, I woke up and my water had broke.
Megan was rushed to Arnot Ogden in Elmira, where her temperature spiked and doctors had to perform an emergency C-section. Colson and Case Thompson were born about 4 months early, micro preemies weighing in at just over 1 pound each. The boys were taken to the neonatal intensive care unit before their mother even got to hold them.
It was scary, seeing them that small and all the wires and everything. I've seen it before, but when it's your children, it takes it to a different level.
That day was followed by countless others, filled with ups and downs as the tiny Thompson twins struggled to hang on.
When we were anticipating something good happening, we were always a little bit reserved because we knew there was always a possibility that we would be taking some steps back or that something bad could happen.
Things quickly went from bad to worse. Colson dealing with a number of severe health issues, one that would require a very risky surgery.
Chances were he probably wasn't going to survive the surgery. So we decided to let him go with us. So after 11 days, Colson passed away.
Case continued his fight, now with a guardian angel watching over him.
He had chronic lung disease, which required oxygen on and off. He was on some very intensive vents. He was intubated, so we had the tube going into his lungs for about a month.
Despite some setbacks, Case continued to improve, getting stronger every day. The memory of his brother, however, a constant reminder of what could happen.
You feel everything. You feel jealousy, you feel guilt, you feel pride when they're doing amazing, you feel angry, you ask why a lot. In the end, being able to bring him home, it was all worth it.
After nearly 4 months, the Thompsons were finally able to bring little Case home, but it was a bittersweet moment for the new family.
We were overjoyed, but at the same time, we should have been bringing 2 babies home, and we weren't. And that was very painful for us. And that's something that we're going to have to deal with for a long time. But I feel comfortable with the decision that we made, and I know that Case has a very special guardian angel looking over him and taking care of him for us too.
And you can see in that story right there some of that life-saving equipment that we're raising money for during the CMN Radiothon. That link again to donate at the bottom of your screen, so make sure you do that. And we've got Case here with us live this afternoon. How you doing, bud? He's not quite sure. He's not quite sure.
He's been checking things out all day today. It's been quite a day. We had to get him up a little early this morning. It's nap time. He's been good. He's been hanging out.
And it's so amazing to see those pictures from, you know, his very early days. He was so tiny, and he's getting pretty big now.
Oh yeah, he at his last doctor's appointment, I think he was
13 pounds, 3 ounces, and 23.5 inches long, but that was 3 weeks ago, so I would have to imagine he's getting closer to the 14-pound mark.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome.
He's growing really well, so we're really happy. He's doing good.
All right. Well, in this next piece of your story, we dive a little bit deeper into life in the NICU, and we took you back there, which I know was a little emotional for you, right? What were you feeling when you walked back through those doors?
I mean, when we walked back in there, it just kind of takes you back to the early days when we had the boys and they, you know, we didn't really know what the future held. And then, you know, we remember the milestones that we hit, and we remember the nurses that we spent so much time with and the doctors who were so amazing to us. So it brings it back a lot, good and bad.
All right, well, let's take a look at part 2.
We were supposed to be taking 2 babies home, and walking out the door with only one was probably one of the hardest things that we've had to do.
After 4 months of waiting and praying, the Thompsons are finally back home with a happy, smiling baby boy. But things weren't always so easy. The sights and sounds of the NICU bringing Megan right back to the day they lost their other twin.
We dreamed of having 2 healthy boys and getting to hold them right away and see their faces, and we didn't even get to see what they looked like. I didn't know that they had my nose or Ryan's dimpled chin. Until the day that Colson passed away. And they were finally able to take his mask off.
Megan recalls spending her baby's first days looking at them through glass as the breathing machines they were hooked up to shook their tiny bodies.
They're hooked up to all this stuff, and there's not really a lot that you can do for them. You have to sit back and kind of watch the nurses take care of your babies and, you know, fight to keep them alive. And it's not something that you can get over very easily.
The time the Thompsons spent in the NICU was so traumatic, it still takes a toll on the family 5 months later.
There were days when I would have flashbacks. Something small would just trigger me, and it would take me back here, and I would break down. Sometimes just riding in the car would bring me back to the night that we had to rush here for Colson. I wish that there was more emotional and mental support for moms and dads who have to go through the NICU, because it's not easy for anyone in the family.
The ups and downs, a roller coaster of emotions. Just when things started looking up, the family would find themselves taking 2 steps back.
There were so many days that, you know, you'd come in ready to have a good day and you'd end up breaking down. There was a lot of days where I don't know if we would have made it through without the support of the nurses.
The Thompsons say the staff here in the NICU has become more like a family to them, keeping in touch even 6 months after they've been out, continuing to be a resource as the family transitions from within the NICU to the outside.
I hope that by sharing this, we can help the babies that are here now, raise awareness, get people to appreciate what we have here in our community with our NICU at Arnot, and just be so grateful for the nurses and the fact that we have this place that allowed us to bring Case home.
And one of the things that I learned about your story through listening to Scott and Allie yesterday on the radio that I didn't realize before, having a bit of a meltdown. He's not super happy. He's missing lunch. I think that's why
he's got a good timing.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had learned was that the night that Colson passed, shortly thereafter, you were able to hold him for the very first time. What was that like?
Yeah. The day that we had lost Colson was the first day. Not long before we lost Colson, the morning that we went in that day, he had opened one of his eyes. And so we were like on a high because we could see his eyes. It was something new. It was a new milestone. And then then when we lost him, it shows you those highs and those lows that we have to deal with. After we lost Colson that day, when we went back in to see him for the first time, back in to see Case, the nurses were like, "We wanted to surprise you," and we looked in and his eyes were open.
Oh.
So it's almost as if he was kind of waiting and letting us have our time with Colson, and then he was like, "All right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
It's my turn."
Wow. That twin instinct.
I think so, yeah.
Well, Case having his own ups and downs right now. He's not super happy with us, but let's see part 3.
You worry if they are breathing. You worry if something is going on that you can't see because there aren't monitors to tell you that they're okay. There aren't nurses there to rush to their aid if something is to happen.
4 months after giving birth, Megan Thompson was finally able to take her baby home from the neonatal intensive care unit. And while nothing could compare to what the family experienced during their time there, Megan says making the adjustment from the NICU to home came with its own struggles.
We can't have him around a lot of other people. We have to keep him kind of in a bubble just because he doesn't have the immune system he should. Because of his lung condition, we just have to be really careful because if he gets sick, it could be really bad.
There's also concerns for little Case's future. When babies are born as small as he was, they often continue to deal with health issues down the road. Developmental delays, chronic lung disease, and vision issues are common.
I worry about his eyes. I worry about his lungs. Is he going to be able to play sports? Is he going to grow the way that he should? Is he going to be able to learn the way that he should because he was so early?
Today, though, the Thompsons aren't worrying about the future. Instead, they're celebrating a milestone.
Today is his 6-month birthday. It's made me think a lot about how far we've come and where we started. Coming into the doctor's office today was a good thing. Getting his shot, but also we got to find out that he's 11 pounds, which means he has come so far since his 1 pound days.
Baby Case not exactly thrilled about having to spend his morning getting shots, but the weekly doctor's visits have become a part of the Thompsons' life.
We have to come back for shots. We come back really to make sure that he's gaining weight, just to make sure that he's healthy. So we know that moving forward, it's going to be something that we're going to be living with for a while.
And while they hope to spend less and less time at the doctor's office, there's one part of the hospital the Thompsons say they'll always have a special connection to.
I knew people who had experiences in the NICU, but you don't understand it until you're there. And once we were there and we started talking about it, we realized just how many people the NICU touches.
The Thompsons visit the NICU often, thanking the nurses who helped keep their son alive and donating to the place that made it possible to bring their little guy home.
You don't want to take any time for granted that you have with him. You know, enjoy every day. And even now, the times when he frustrates you, as normal babies do, you know, you just remind yourself of, you know, how things were just a few months back, and it puts it all into perspective.
And while Case continues to grow and get stronger every day, the Thompsons can't help but think of their baby who wasn't able to come home. Colson James, a constant reminder of just how much the family has been through.
We remember him every day, we talk about him, he will know about him, and it helps us to be able to talk about everything and keep his memory alive.
And I was there that day that we had that video of the nurses kind of crowding around Case and passing him around. And I know that during your time there, you were there for almost 4 months, right? Mm-hmm. So you inevitably got very close to some of the nurses. Talk about some of those friendships that you've hung on to even now.
Definitely. It's amazing getting to go back and get to see the nurses, because it feels really good getting to see them so excited to see Case and just loving on him like they did every day that he was there.
Even the doctors too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody there. I mean, everybody who's involved with the NICU, they really get connected with the babies, and so it's great for us to see that. And we had nurses that had Case and had Colson in the beginning, and were kind of with us the entire way through, and we still check in with them and keep them updated and talk to them pretty often. So it's true that they become like family, and we have some close friends now that we've met through there. So.
Yeah. And Ryan, I know it was tough for you when you had to go back to work eventually, and did you feel like you were leaving Megan and your very new sons in good hands?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you still want to be there. Going back to work was actually kind of therapeutic for me, so it wasn't all bad, but leaving them, or going in the morning and then having to leave because I worked in the evening, and then had to walk out of there, and leaving Megan and Case behind was tough every day. But
sure, yeah.
I knew that he'd be there to see me the next morning. So.
All right. Well, we actually caught up with one of your nurses, Nurse Christy, and she has a pretty amazing story too. She actually had triplets that ended up in the NICU, and she wasn't even a nurse yet. It inspired her to become one. Here's her story.
I have triplets who were born at 29 weeks. They are 9 now. They were in here for about 2 months. So when my kids were in here, I had nothing to do with nursing at that time. I decided I wanted to go back to school and be a nurse in the NICU. The nurses here were so helpful to us, and they were always available. I just wanted to help people like they helped us. It's one of the greatest jobs ever. Like, who can come to work and cuddle babies? It's not all just cuddling babies. It's definitely, you have hard days, and then you have all the great days, like seeing Case come back and seeing how well the babies are doing now. That's what gets you through. It's like a family here. Everyone, even when you leave, you still are close to the nurses, and they're always there for you if you need anything. Like Case, I talk to them, his parents, all the time. So just little updates on how he's doing. Our unit is one of the only units in this area. We take babies from Corning, Robert Packer, Coudersport. So you probably know someone that has been affected by the NICU, and that the NICU's help their infant.
And it's because of that very large area that the NICU caters to that we need those donations. Again, that number to call is at the bottom of your screen. There's lots of volunteers standing by over at Arnot to take those calls and take those donations that are so needed. Part of what we're doing also is raising awareness with this radiothon. And Megan, that's one thing that you've shared with me that is really one of your goals, is to help other families going through similar situations. And talk about why that's so important to you.
I mean, when we went into the NICU, it was something that we were not expecting. I mean, we knew that we might go early when we found out that we had twins, but it just wasn't something that you think is going to happen to you. So when we ended up there and we had to let Colson go, I remember a lot of the nurses coming up and talking to me and saying, you can use this for something. You know, this happened to you. You can use this to help somebody else who's also going through it. And that really stuck with me. And I kind of do these things in Colson's memory because, you know, I will always want to share about him and make his memory known, and Case went through so much, so it's amazing to be able to talk about him. But for the families who are going through it, to help them, you know, not feel so alone, and to be able to raise money through the CMN Radiothon is amazing, because we're getting money for equipment that Case needed, or that can help a baby who's going to be there soon. So being able to do things like this and to talk about it is something that we're really happy to be doing.
Well, I had to share this with you because, you know, obviously we just watched your story. It is very emotional. And Allie from Scott and Allie over at Wink 106, she's heard your story many times. She sat down and did an interview with you guys. Well, this is her yesterday after listening to it again. Like I said, this was probably her second or third time hearing it. So let's take a look.
I legitimately don't know how anyone could keep sanity through that, through a night like that.
You know, well, and like she said, like Case was very independent. So she said whenever her and I were talking beforehand, that Case was so independent that he didn't necessarily want to be touched a lot, and that was like his way of letting them be with Colson, knowing that they had to make the most difficult decision of their life by saying goodbye to Colson. The other thing about this was they never even saw Colson's face until the day he passed, and they took everything off. And one of the other things too is, and hopefully she's okay with me saying this, so the sorry, so one of the things about it is the NICU had said to them, because they've been through situations like this before, they said, you know, take some pictures. And at first they said they didn't want to take any pictures. Like, what a sad day, what a terrible time. But then now they're so grateful that they did, that they have at least those few pictures of his face.
And part of what this money that we're raising goes to is the bereavement supplies and things like that. We were talking with some of the folks over at Arnot about the cast and things like that you have from Colson that you're able to remember him by. Why do you think that's so important as part of the healing process?
They just did so much for us the night that we lost Colson. Things like having the molds of his hands and his feet. It's painful to look at them, but at the same time, it's like he was here with us, and to see just how tiny he was, and really how tiny Case was, because Case was smaller than that. It's going to mean a lot to always have that, and to be able to show that to Case when he gets older, and be able to tell the story of his brother. Just the amazing things that they did for us. Like they brought in a mirror so that I could see Colson as I was holding him that night. They had us take the pictures, like I said. They printed some off for us. They got us a large envelope with, you know, all the things that Colson had used, like his little blood pressure cuff, and we have a copy of his heartbeat. So things like that. It's just, you can't really put it into words how much that means to us, but it's something that we're always going to have to be able to look back on and to share with Case.
And again, those supplies that we're talking about here are funded through CMN, so make sure you donate. That number, again, is at the bottom of your screen. And I have to take a minute to give a shout out to Scott and Allie. You just saw Allie there a little bit ago. They've been on the air since very early this morning. They did it all day yesterday. Again, encouraging people to donate to the Children's Miracle Network at Arnot to give to this amazing cause. Allie's been doing this for about 13 years. She talks now about why it means so much to her.
I get to meet all these amazing moms and dads who they will do anything for their kid. And just to see that love and that passion is what makes me love this so much. And the other fact is that there's these babies and they can't fight for their own life. Somebody has to help them. So I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to say, hey, we have to do something. We have to step in. There's something to be said about being that warrior and being that, that vessel for helping out a child who can't help themselves.
Scott, I know, has been doing this for a long time also. He's even fighting through a cold this week to be on the air pretty much around the clock, so I wasn't able to catch up with him as much, but he is there taking those donations. Again, that number is at the bottom of your screen. The online donation link and text line can also be found right here on mytwintiers.com. We're going to continue this live webcast with more live guests after this short break. Keep it here.
Every minute in the United States, 62 children enter a Children's Miracle Network hospital like Arnot, Ogden to receive life-saving treatment. WETM-TV is teaming up with our partners at Community Broadcasters to help raise funds and awareness for the miracles happening here at Arnot, Ogden every day. So join us March 6th and 7th for the annual Radiothon to hear more from local families impacted and learn how you can make a difference.
WETM-18 seeks an experienced digital content developer. Provide oversight of digital and social media for the region's dominant news station and media website. This position is full-time and offers a full benefits package. WETM-18 is an affiliate of Nexstar Media Group, the largest television station group in the country with unlimited career potential. Join a winning team. Apply for the digital content developer position online now at nexstar.tv/careers or email James Carl at WETMTV.com.
The NICU is wonderful. They've been nothing but great to the babies. I encourage everyone to donate what they can, and it's even a little bit helps these little guys.
Good afternoon and welcome back to our Miracles Matter live web special benefiting the Children's Miracle Network at Arnot. We all know someone who's been in the neonatal intensive care unit or had a baby there. It's something I didn't realize personally was so common until I really dove into my work in preparation for the stories you just watched featuring the Thompsons. There will be hundreds of babies born in the Twin Tiers this year alone that will rely on the life-saving equipment and care that the NICU at Arnot provides. In fact, every time I go in the NICU, I find another amazing success story. Here's one I found this morning in a former NICU baby turned Radiothon volunteer and her NICU nurse mom.
With my mom being a NICU nurse here for so many years, over 30 years, and then also being a NICU grad, that I kind of owe my time, and I owe a lot to the nurses and the doctors and the people here to help volunteer and help raise money and funds for the NICU as much as I can. It holds a very special place in my heart. So.
And Sherry, I've talked with you a little bit before throughout spending my time here in the NICU, and I mean, what is this like for you? So Erin was telling us you became a nurse just about 1 year before you had her and had to spend your own time in here. What's it like to work with these tiny babies every day and know the success story that you have right here of your own?
It's incredible. I mean, I wouldn't do anything else. What you get here and the compassion, the miracles that we see every single day, it's great, and I am so proud of her. I'm so proud of her that she continues to do this. As a mother in the NICU and a nurse in the NICU at the time, it was very difficult. You totally lose your nurse hat and you become a mom. So it was just, I would look at things and think the worst. And everybody would have to go, Sherry, it's okay. No, you're good. So it was a difficult time when she was in here, but we got through it, and we raised this beautiful girl.
So what would you say to people watching this at home who haven't donated yet or sitting there thinking about it?
Definitely donate. You've got to donate, guys. I mean, we have so much great equipment, up-to-date equipment here just from CMN that really helps these babies every step of the way.
That equipment that she's talking about there, very expensive, but so necessary to save the lives of those tiny babies that need help in getting going in their first few weeks. And a mobile isolette, that's what we were raising money for yesterday, costs $132,000. And that's an isolette that is able to travel to and from hospitals, providing that life-saving care to and from, and it's just amazing. We were able to raise enough money for that yesterday. I'm joined now by Mo Walker. She's the clinical coordinator over at the NICU. So how has the Radiothon been going so far? I know you've been running around like crazy, but we thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Incredible. The volunteers, the phone calls. We put out a message that we need 40 donators, and we have 40 donators within the hour. It's incredible. That transport isolette that she's talking about is actually a NICU on wheels. So we are a regional transport center, and we can go from hospital to hospital and pick up babies that are critically ill or born too early or just sick. Sometimes just newborns are sick and can't stay at the hospital they're at. They need to come to a NICU. We can do everything in that transport isolette on wheels in the back of an ambulance that we can actually do in the NICU. So it's very crucial for a piece of equipment like that to be able to get a baby here safely and alive and be able to do what we need to do for them.
Yeah.
So.
And while we're reaching those amazing goals through this Radiothon, there's still so much more that needs to be done. Talk about some of the things that are still needed inside the unit.
So we need more ventilators, and that is a life-saving device. It's a breathing machine for babies that can't breathe on their own. And up to date, some of the ventilators that we have are older than you, I dare say. So truly, there's such new technology out there. One of the things that we've been raising money for is called an AccuVein. And that is a piece of equipment that can actually visualize the veins inside of a child's body. Wow. So we've been raising money to try and get 3 of those devices, one for the emergency room where children come in, into the NICU where the vessels are so small in the pediatric department, because sometimes those bigger kids are just as difficult to get as the little ones. So it's really a really cool piece of equipment. So.
Great. And again, that number to donate is at the bottom of your screen, so make sure you do that. Lots of volunteers standing by at Arnot ready to take those calls, get those donations in for more of that equipment that Mo talks about. And Mo, you work there every day, you see it all. I'm sure you've got some amazing success stories. Talk about some of those.
Amazing. We see miracles every day in the NICU. It's incredible. The NICU is one of those hidden jewels that unless you have a child that's been in the NICU or you know somebody that has, you really don't know what a NICU is or that there's even one here. I've been a nurse for 36 years, and until I came to the Arnot, I really didn't know anything about a NICU. I started working there, I fell in love with the place, and those little 1-pound babies, 23 weekers that you know, 10 years ago wouldn't have survived are now surviving and thriving. It's wonderful. Wow. My children lovingly, my own children lovingly refer to those babies as the Gatorade babies, because the first time that I saw a telethon about a NICU baby, it was one of my babies, and he was 4 years old. Not my own child, but a child I had taken care of was 4 years old. And I'm sitting in my living room crying, and my children are all concerned because I'm crying. And I said, these are good tears, because this little child who's doing so well was 20 ounces. And my son goes out to the kitchen, he says, Mom, this Gatorade is 20 ounces. Can't be true. And it's absolutely true.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a really good story. And like I mentioned at the top of this block, every time I go in the NICU, I find more of those success stories, and it's just amazing. Here's a few more.
What better investment than to invest in a life?
The equipment we have has changed a lot over the last several years, even over the last couple of years. It's very expensive equipment. We try to stay up to date and get the newest technologies to take care of these babies.
The nurses did a wonderful job of explaining what every single wire meant, what every monitor meant. They did a great job of telling us that, and it made it much less scary. It's still, it's scary to see your baby in an isolette, and it's not what you imagine the first time you see your baby, but we're getting through. She's growing a lot. She's making big changes. She went from an isolette to an open crib, and she used to have breathing tubes, and now she doesn't, and so she's grown so much in the past, month and I guess almost 6 weeks, that we're just focusing on hopefully what she can do in the next 6 weeks. So it's scary, but we know she's a strong little girl.
You don't realize how fragile they were until you look back, and then you see those pictures and it's like, oh my gosh, he really was so tiny, and he really was in such rough shape, and he made it through, and you'd never know. So it's a nice reminder to see where we've come from.
We use all of your contributions to buy important equipment that helps us do our jobs better, and we really couldn't do it without it, and so we really appreciate everything.
Mo, I'm sure some of those women look familiar to you.
They sure do.
You work with them every day.
I have a wonderful team.
Yes, they're great. Great group of women.
Team.
And we were just talking a little bit, we've been mentioning the NICU so much throughout the Radiothon because you have those tiny babies that your heart just aches for. But it's important to mention also that this money goes towards the pediatrics unit also. So talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So in our neighborhood, we are unique in that we have the only true pediatric department around for all of the neighboring hospitals. It is actually a dedicated pediatric unit. It's bright colors, it's beautiful, it's child friendly, has a playroom. We do inpatient, outpatient surgeries, and sick kids, short stay kids. But a lot of our NICU babies grow up and actually become patients on if they have a place to go when they're sick. So
yeah, definitely important to mention. And again, that money that you're donating, all going to an amazing cause, whether it's those tiny babies that need your help to survive or those little bit bigger kids in the pediatrics that still need some assistance in getting going in their lives. Really, that's what we're talking about. And it's just an amazing thing that everybody out there donating, you're contributing to somebody's life. And we've got Nikita Ramos here now with us.
Hello, everyone.
She is kind of taking over our continuing coverage of the Radiothon at this point. And it's really interesting. So Nikita was following me around a little bit, kind of learning the ropes of the NICU because I've spent a fair amount of time in it over the past few weeks. So I was introducing her to everybody like Mo. And it was really interesting to see your reaction. So, I mean, your first time in the NICU, what did you think?
So when I first walked in there and I saw them inside, what are they called?
The isolates.
The isolates. And I was like, are they real? I thought they were, dolls. They were so tiny. I can honestly say I've never seen a human or even a baby that small in my entire life. And then you came and brought me one of the diapers that these NICU babies wear, and they're about the size of a tissue if you were to buy those little tissue packets.
Yeah.
And one of the nurses said that one baby was so small they had to fold the top part even lower because the diaper that was so tiny was all the way up to the baby's chest already. And it just goes to show that, these babies are so tiny. They need the help that they can get to just fight for their lives and stay alive and have that chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's why you need to donate. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you call that number at the bottom of your screen. We've also got more ways to donate right here on mytwintears.com. And Nikita's going to be taking it over from here. She'll be live from Arnot later on, so we'll see you then.
Over 1,200 animals come to the Chemung County SPCA every year, in part because pets aren't spayed and neutered. The Chemung County SPCA Spay-Neuter program provides affordable care for pets of income-eligible owners. Every year, over 3,000 animals are served through our clinics. Spay and neuter your pets, and together we can prevent homelessness. Visit www.chemungspca.org. The Chemung County SPCA. Over 125 years of hope, help, and happiness.
When severe weather strikes, count on the 18 Storm Team to keep you and your family safe. Accurate forecasts around the clock from the team you trust. Available when you need it. On air, online, and on our apps. The 18 Storm Team, your local weather leader.